Hey there, Bach.
Hi, Rena. How's it going?
I'm doing really good actually today. Super
Oh,
good.
nice. Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to answer good how?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
there's Good How meaning channel. There's Good How sensation channel, but Good How would be yeah. I'm looking forward to a weekend of resting. I've had a lot of I moved homes and then did some training, so that involves travel. And so this is the first weekend in a little while that I'm gonna let everything be able to settle in and integrate a little bit and have some space for that. So that's the main reason.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. We're here kind of to talk about organic intelligence, and I just got to say, just even in all of that, right? How organic intelligence has helped in being able to ride waves of intensity. So life it was a big deal. This move really quickly. Obviously, all the packing and
Mm.
schlepping and unpacking and all of that, and to know that like rest time will come and the system will move into that space when it's ready to and when it can, and to not fret about it, right? And so this is just looking at how I handled this move compared to moves many moons ago, and just
Mm.
very different, a lot more going with the flow, not trying to push too hard, finding ways to create more ease in the process. All of that I would say is a gift that's come from my involvement with and learning of organic intelligence.
I feel you, and I feel the opposite.
Oh yeah.
I feel you in the sense that nice. You're you want rest, you have time for rest, and rest is going to happen. I feel the opposite in the sense that in my life, I'm right now very action oriented, very focused on my goals, and I
Mhm.
enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah, so good.
If anything, I'm over rested, so it's tend to act even
Right.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. And my guess is that that came in kind of organically, like there's rest happening, and then it's like, oh, here's all these ideas that start sprouting forth, and energy and movement to try to do those things.
Actually, insight in the moment here is in the very fresh moment is because a lot of what I do is very intellectual, all my projects, and because I found the best thinking happens when you're relaxed. It's in my case, rest and deep rest and really focused, productive intellectual action are very integrated. If I'm not rested, I can't think as well. So interesting. I feel
Yeah.
less opposite to you now. Yes.
Nice.
A
Yeah.
little still opposite.
Yeah.
Not intentionally or pridefully so. It's just I just noted that when you were talking about rest, I felt, Rena, I'm more into action. And then now I feel, but it's really the same in my case because of what I do.
And it may be ways that it's the same if we look at it pulling out a little bit bigger, right? Like we're looking at rest action as two different
Uh,
states.
uh,
And yet if we move out a little bit bigger, that rest supports action, action supports rest. And when those are able to do happen at proper levels of intensity, then it's actually just part of a cycle.
Recently, in some Zoom calls, Steve said it's all one thing. And in the context, he was talking about sometimes we're being, sometimes we're doing. There's an oscillation between being and doing. And then he backs off, not backs off, but gets broader and says, but it's all one thing. It's not like you contrast being versus doing in the oscillation. You can, and that's useful. And at the same time, he says it's all one thing. Often when he says things like it's all one thing, I get annoyed. However, I took it. I mean, I thought about it, and it does make sense. It's all one thing in the sense that we're living, and whatever we're doing in the moment, resting or acting, is that part of just that one life process. And the oscillation is so frequent. If you, I'll just pluck the idea from organic intelligence or from Steve's many sayings. The inhale is more active, the exhale is more deactivating. So there's just action, rest happening in every inhale, every exhale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, we've already kind of bantered a bit, a bunch of terms and ideas and thoughts and we kind of were I think thinking about just having a conversation about what is organic intelligence. We've already named it. And if you're here watching the video, it's probably because something about the word organic intelligence might have shown up and attracted you. But we're gonna probably see if we can just have a conversation for all of us to go, well, what is it that we're talking about? And then and like who cares? Like what's the significance? What's the importance? Why are we even having these conversations about this? And yeah, we'll just see
Mm,
what comes out of it.
I like yes. What is organic intelligence and who cares? When you said who cares, that interested me more. But so I think who cares? Why should I care? Okay, here's why you should care. If there's a way for you to make your life better with less effort, with a lot less effort compared to the effort level many other approaches would have you undertake, I think we got to grab onto that. If you can get more done, if you can have more baseline inherent comfort, if you can achieve more, learn more about yourself and your values, and find new sources of pleasure and new ways of dealing with people and conflict and problems, if you can do that stuff more easily, more quickly, with less effort, and more richly, you want to go for that. And that's why you should care. That's why you should care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you want to be selfish, and selfishness is the best thing ever, in my opinion. So, organic intelligence is an approach that says pretty radically it's possible for you to change your underlying biology so that it can handle more in life automatically for you, so that you don't have to do a lot of cognitive work, breathing exercises, self-care, bubble baths, eat well, exercise. All that's good, but you won't have to do them just to feel okay. Your biologies can reorganize to get you at a fundamental level, to support you so that you can find a lot more ease and happiness in life. That's the essence. Organic intelligence, what is the essence? Organic intelligence is a way to increase your ability to get things done and find more pleasure, and with less effort. That is the fundamental here. And that's what distinguishes it from so many other modalities, which say, you got to put in the work, you got to work hard to get the results. Here we're saying you get the results of more ease by finding more ease. All right. I can go on
Wow.
forever, but I'll just stop there and see,
Wow. Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot that you said. And so we're fundamentally starting with organic intelligence is a way to support better living. And by better, you were saying naming more easeful, more joyful or happy, and being able to allow what happens in life just to happen without having to work too hard at making that happen. So there's a way in which most people are in a process in life of trying to experience and have better and better experiences, right? Like we know that happiness is, even if one doesn't name that as a pursuit, it's really part of all of our experiences. We're attempting to be able to feel, have the affective state or the body state, the biological state of feeling good. And so what I'm hearing you saying is that at the basic, organic intelligence is providing a means to doing that in a way that is easeful rather than effortful.
Yes. Yes. And specifically, the means would be shifting the biology at a fundamental level so that it more stably is in ease and more and can process more information intensity more easily.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so you're naming the biology, right,
Mm.
as opposed to the psychology, say, or characterology, or whatever you want to say there. But there's in some way there's a part of organic intelligence is this fundamental um, view of the biology as a whole, but that whole is actually, there's a lot of fractal pieces or parts of that whole, but essentially the biology is one whole being, including everything that the body does, including what the brain does, or to the degree that we understand how the body
Mm.
works,
Mm.
the body slash mind, right? And that even the thoughts and the emotions, the images, all of those is also part of the body or the biology.
The Yeah, biology is frequently mentioned in organic intelligence. It's a way of describing the overall yourself overall. And I think, okay, so I'm going to ask a question of myself here and of all of us. Why does organic intelligence use the term biology? Other people use psychology, they use mind, they use mind body, sometimes they use mind body spirit. Why do we use biology? Is this just our new thing that we do that doesn't really mean anything interesting? No, I think one reason is I'm trying to get it in my mind in real time here. It's pretty obvious knowledge now to everyone that the mind affects the body affects the mind. If you start thinking about your problems, your heart rate may go up. You'll just feel bad throughout your body. If you didn't get enough sleep, if you had too much coffee, not enough coffee, it affects your thinking. So everyone kind of knows through very obvious examples that the mind and body are interrelated, they interconnect, they influence each other. One thing I think the term biology does in organic intelligence, as we understand it, is to really focus on the whole without even trying to distinguish mind and then body and how they interact. That's given, that's obvious, but we're just trying to focus on the system as a whole so that it's just much faster at getting your overall biology without worrying about distinguishing the psychology from the body and the physiology and how they interact. That's given, and we're honoring that fully and in detail by saying we work with the biology. That's one reason to get away from an artificial distinction between mind and body that sometimes people unnecessarily introduce. I think another reason for biology is we are working in organic intelligence sessions with very detailed aspects of what the body does. And in our view, that system, that biology is the fundament from which conscious experience arises. So we're working at that fundamental level of the biology, the cells, the musculature, to fundamentally reshape the psychology. But those are just some thoughts about why we refer to biology. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that we can even, you already started to mention that there's these aspects of the biology, and organic intelligence specifically names those aspects, and categorizes them so that we can recognize all the different parts of the self that are involved. And so I thought maybe I'll just name those, right? There's an acronym that is used to talk about these aspects, which is ISOMA, ISOMA. And I is image. So all the things that are going on in the image channel of the mind, or in the image channel of the biology, right? There's also then sensation, and that's what most people think of as the biology. So all of the
Mhm.
feelings of heart rate and breathing and tension and openness and lightness, and just all these, including the interoceptive kinds of things, the vestibular, the proprioceptive, all of that's going to be part of sensation. And that's traditionally what people think of as the biology, right? And so in organic intelligence, we're kind of expanding that to include both images, sensation, and then there's what is unique. One of the unique elements in organic intelligence is called orientation, and we'll do some whole videos on just what that is.
Mm.
But that's an aspect of the biology. And M is for meaning, right? So all of our thoughts, and that's again what oftentimes people think of as mind, and yet we're saying that that's just an aspect of the whole biology. And then the final one would be affect. Affect, feelings, emotions, and all of those words can be slightly defined differently. And there's lots of research on what is affect and how it affects us. But we know it's some aspect. Like we all know that we have experiences of feeling either sad or angry or afraid, and that's we call that affect. And even if we don't fully neurobiologically understand it exactly, I'm sure that that's getting closer and closer. But for now, we know certain things about those, and all of those are ways that we are engaging with both the external world and our internal world, and
Mm.
all of that is the biology.
The acronym ISOMA, ISOMA, image, sensation, orientation, connection to the environment through the senses, meaning, thoughts, cognition, and affect, emotions, are all aspects of the biology and reveal the underlying biology, what's happening in the biology through through evidence of how intense emotion is or sensation, meaning, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I I wanted to ask you a question or raise an issue, not directly for now on ISOMA, and I'm generally hesitant to try to deviate you from something, but I felt it was really important when we were talking about biology. So if I may just ask, nervous system. We hear it all the time. Nervous system, nervous system, nervous system approach. I have a deeper approach than CBT. I work the nervous system regulation, co-regulate the nervous system, heal your nervous system, improve your nervous system, resiliency of the nervous system. We tend to focus on biology more than the term nervous system. I wanted to raise this because I felt it was important in an intro to organic intelligence because there's so much nervous system talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you interested in or willing to? I invite you to just comment on why we kind of don't focus on that too much. Yeah.
Right, right. And you're right. There's been a lot of interest in how the biology works within the nervous system, and there's science, there's evidence, and then there's a lot of theories, and some of those theories have scientific support. Some of them have more or less. But the nervous system is actually one system that's part of our whole biology. So if you take a biology course, they will often talk about there's anywhere from 12 to 14 different systems of the body, depending on who's counting and what they're including. And the nervous system, just like the digestive system and the reproductive system and the immune system, these are the nervous system is just one of those. And the nervous system itself specifically has to deal with the central nervous system, right, of the brain and the spinal cord, and then the autonomic nervous system, which is all the ways that the nerves go and allow for action. And so the nervous system is a very specific part of this overall system, and there are oodles of theories and practices out there to specifically try to change the nervous system. So most commonly, there'll be a lot of vagus nerve kinds of things, how to stimulate the vagus nerve, how to regulate the vagus nerve, how to calm the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is super important in the nervous system. There's no doubt about that. But it is just part of the system. And really, I would say, if we look at this from just the basic biology, we can see that there's lots of things that are affecting the nervous system, including the other systems of the body. And the nervous system affects those other systems as well as how we express ourselves through action. And so for me, I'm much more comfortable talking about the system, and that's the phrase we'll often use, or the biology, one of those two, And we can talk about if we think those are interchangeable, but I kind of tend to use the system or the biology interchangeably. And then a part of that is the nervous system. And so one of the challenges I find in a lot of work out there there's something about therapy on TikTok or therapy on Instagram that, I tend to trust it a little bit less. And so there's all kinds of people out there just saying what they want to say about the nervous system. And the fact is there's still a lot we don't know. We really are very new in our understanding of the neurobiology, and there's things we do know, of course. But all of those things that are aimed at trying to change the nervous system are going to be somehow, again, going back to what you talked about, efforted in some way, not necessarily in line with the whole biology, and often leads to people feeling or thinking, believing that there's something wrong with their nervous system, and therefore it needs to be fixed. And that is fundamentally at odds with organic intelligence, in the sense that, our systems are doing what they need to do, responding to the moment as it is, plus with the influence of all of our past conditioning. And that just is. Right? That's not, oh, that's a wrong thing, and we need to make that different. We want our lives to feel better. We want to enjoy feeling different things, and that feeling of enjoyment, that's part of the nervous system. What actions we take and whether those actions lead to a better life or a life that has more problems. I mean, we kind of want to go in the direction of better. But that doesn't mean it's wrong and it needs to be fixed. And so that's kind of where I just see so much that's out there about trying to fix your nervous system, and think that it's just missing the mark, really, in terms of the broader picture.
Thank you for the answer, and for taking on the question of what's with all this nervous system talk and how does it relate to organic intelligence, or what do you think of it all? I think one attraction of biology over nervous system is that it straightforwardly, accurately identifies what we're working with, the whole organism. Nervous system is a specialized part, and it's technical. I barely know what a nervous system is. I mean, I could easily look it up. Oh, it's the brain and spinal cord. And then I think, okay, but what does that do for me in terms of my understanding of organic intelligence, or even nervous system approaches to therapy or healing the vagus nerve? So I think biology has the advantage of just being accurate and direct and unnecessary, and not bringing in technical jargon that may be unnecessary and actually distracting. Those are some thoughts I had. And yes, you had mentioned you tend to use system or biology. I tend to use biology because it focuses on the fact that we're alive and we're a living process that sustains itself. System could mean an inanimate system of parts that are complicated and connect, but system or biology, I'm just telling you why I tend to go for biology. You ended with a major feature of organic intelligence is that we don't harp on there's a lot of problems with you, you're damaged, you have a lot of problems, and you need to be fixed. Instead, organic intelligence says suffering, all these symptoms, including the thoughts about I'm wrong, something wrong with me, these symptoms are indications that the biology's capacity to process intensity wants to grow so that it can process all that information so you don't have suffering. So we have a very simple forward-moving, groping for words here, a simple forward-moving direction here, which is, here's your biology. You want your life to be as easy and happy as possible, so let's increase its capacity. That's the main focus. Distinguishing, trying to identify what your problems are, what your diagnoses are. Can you alleviate these problems so that then you can live your life? to the extent that it helps you motivate yourself and think about things and improve, great. And at the same time, all that the relief of symptoms or the alleviation of whatever you're suffering from various diagnoses, that just happens as an inexorable part of just increasing capacity. We're here to increase your biological capacity so you can be happier more effortlessly. Those are some thoughts. Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe we should also just talk about what the biology, what's the biology doing? Fundamentally, what is the biology doing? And how does organic intelligence harness that fundamental aspect for its process of helping people feel better in life?
Thank you. And I have a question here. In the training, in the volumes and volumes of lecture material on organic intelligence that the founder Steve Hoskinson, we get a lot of technical concepts and details about the biology, nervous system, vestibular system, brain networks, different brain networks, current debates about which are the brain networks and how do they relate, what's fight, what's flight, what's freeze, what's the status of the polyvagal theory, what do we think of it, and 10,000 cells ticking and neurons. So there's just a lot of technical knowledge and presentation of aspects of the biology. And so when you ask me now, okay, what do we mean by the biology? How do we understand it? One path, which causes me anxiety in the moment, by the way, would be to jump into that gargantuan set of technical details. And the other part of me is thinking, but that all those technical details seem not necessary for understanding organic intelligence at a beginner level, and actually distracting. Very important, but not necessary. So I think what we're saying is, at the essence, your biology, which is your overall, which is just your body and everything in it, everything, and including the conscious experience that arises from it, one fundamental part of it, of your biology, is that it moves in cycles of arousal and de-arousal. Arousal and de-arousal. Okay. There's work in the day and there's rest at night, as just one example. Okay. You hang out, you laugh at a friend's joke, there's some arousal there, and then you settle after the laughing finishes and you just relax. So there's just these cycles of arousal and de-arousal. That's a feature of the biology that's very important in organic intelligence. And the way to increase your biology's ability to process intensity. So quickly, what do we mean by the biology's ability to process intensity? And by the way, Rena, feel free to interrupt me if you think I'm going on in a weird path or you want to interrupt. But what do we mean by the biology's ability to process intensity? It means, can you do what you need to do in life, go to work, do errands, clean the kitchen, take out the trash, talk to friends, raise your kids? Can you do what you need to do in life more or less enjoyably and easily? Or is it just chronic stressors and intensity and discomfort? The more capacity you have, the more you can do all that stuff easily and enjoyably, more easily and enjoyably. That's what we mean by capacity, where you can do it effortlessly and enjoyably. Now, the way to increase your capacity is to try to get those cycles of up and down, arousal and de-arousal, to be pleasurable as opposed to painful. Because to the degree they're pleasurable, the arousal cycle, the arousal part of a cycle, will reach something that is called an organic intensity threshold, a level of intensity that if your biology reaches and then doesn't exceed, but just reaches and then deactivates from, de-arouses from, the reaching and resting from these organic intensity thresholds is what increases repeatedly and rhythmically increases your capacity to process more and more information intensity easily, to establish pleasurable cycles of arousal and de-arousal, and just throwing it in very quickly, it opens a lot of questions. But and how do you get those cycles to be pleasurable? How do you get those cycles of arousal and de-arousal to be pleasurable and reach those thresholds? You want to stabilize your biology in two things: in feeling good overall as a natural effortless state, and in orientation, which is connection to the environment through the senses. Now that was a lot, so I'll just kind of pause there. But that was just my attempt to get back to your question about what do we mean by biology, more specifically inorganic intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation just about arousal, de-arousal. You can say activation, deactivation, up, down, polarization, depolarization, that we can find examples within our biology, but also all living systems, of that oscillatory process of activation, deactivation, arousal, de-arousal. And so you can look at the most basic of bacteria, and if they're just kind of hanging out doing their thing in their environment and they hit something that is, or come across something that's somewhat noxious, it's going to automatically pull away from that, right? So that's going to be an arousal thing. And then once it's moved away from that, it's going to just go about doing its thing, right? Without a whole lot of efforting. And so in the same way that that's happening with us, and we can see it, a little more complicatedly, but at the basic level, as you mentioned earlier, just the breath. That the breath is doing a activation and a deactivation. So there's an inhale, there's an activation, and it hits the top of the inhale because of the gas exchange, the carbon dioxide to oxygen ratio. And when that hits a certain ratio, you've taken in so much oxygen that now there's more carbon dioxide that has to get out. Well, then the body exhales. And then at the bottom of the exhale, there's going to be, again, there's this change in the gas percentages. And once there is too little oxygen, too much carbon dioxide has gone out, and there's no need for more oxygen, well, then the inhale comes again. And I love that example just because it shows the automaticity of our biology. And while we can voluntarily control the breath and we have some control over it, most of it is happening most of the time without any conscious input about that, right? That's just the biology doing its thing. And we can say that about cells expanding and contracting. We can tell you that about nerve cells polarizing until they depolarize and fire off. We can say that about the blood glucose levels. I mean, like there are just a plethora of examples in the biology of this process of activation, deactivation. And so all of that's happening in a coordinated way. And it is something that, in a sense, we can rely on, that is happening until something somehow interferes with that. But by and large, like if we're living, breathing, then our biology is doing its thing, its oscillatory thing, and everything in life can be seen through that lens of acceleration, deceleration, or its correlate, kind of on a mind level, approach and avoid.
Yeah. An inhale and an exhale, breathing, inhale, exhale, is a very clear, simple example that everyone can understand of just arousal to a certain level and then de-arousal, and that breathing happens automatically to sustain yourself. And that's a great model. Something that's arousal and de-arousal happening automatically, that's good for you, right? Sustains you. And to up the level of complexity a little bit, just what I think, just to come up with just an ordinary life example of automatic arousal and de-arousal that organizes the system. It could be you have plans tonight to have dinner with a friend, and then the friend texts you saying, hey, my friend Chris, I think you'd like him. Can I bring him to dinner with us? And you say, sure. And then dinner's like, let's say 8 hours away. And during that time, your biology may go through a cycle or more of arousal and de-arousal. Oh, new person. I'm a little nervous, but a little excited. And will I like this person? And oh, I have a routine with my friend of dinner, just the two of us. We get into a nice, comfortable thing. Now there's a new friend coming. Uh, am I ready for that? Or how will I deal with that? But a lot of that processing can happen automatically at just in the time between when you first texted your friend saying, yeah, sure, Chris can come to the dinner. Your biology may go through priming, just several cycles of, oh, I'm kind of getting ready to meet a new person, and then relax and go back to work or go back to my whatever I'm doing at home, Netflix. And then later on, oh, a new person. And then the biology gets more prepared, and then de-arousal. So I think that's just hopefully a relatable example of just how we can our biology can do things automatically, as opposed to you ask a friend who's a therapist to help coach you. Okay, name 5 positive things that could happen from dinner tonight. And okay, what's making you anxious? Okay, what are some thoughts that can antidote your anxiety? No, your biology, if it's well organized, can just automatically prepare for that meeting that new person without having to do so much coaching of yourself and preparation and dealing with your anxieties and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's going to beg the question for another video, which is, and well, how do we get our systems organized in such a way that in our experiences of life, we are able to ride those waves of arousal, de-arousal with ease and not get stuck somewhere, not get stuck in a high arousal state or stuck in a low de-arousal state, and so. Because whenever we get stuck, that's when the system kind of has a little, it's like a wrench in the system, if we're going to use more mechanistic language, right? But there's a way in which the biology is not able to as easily do that arousal, de-arousal process. And I think that would be we'll mark that as a really good thing to talk about in the next video.
I'm 100% for that. And giving that example of the biology preparing through arousal and de-arousal to meet a new person, that also answers again, provides another answer to who cares? What is organic intelligence and who cares? It's possible to prepare for life and do life, meet someone new effortlessly. How exactly that happens, how that works biology, we can get to in future videos and in depth. But I think that example is a good one to say, here's a very homey, simple, clear example of something that's good. If you can just prepare for life automatically instead of having to manage all the pots and pans, that's great. That's better because it's easier.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, there are things that are going to happen in life, some of which we find to be pleasant if they just happen. But then there's things that happen in life that by and large most people would find unpleasant. So, say like a health diagnosis or the death of somebody we care about or a car accident. Like these are things that happen. And even in those things, part of what we're looking to is not that we don't care about those things or that they don't affect us or don't have an impact, because of course they're going to, but that the impact that they have does not, again, interrupt the activation deactivation cycles, doesn't interrupt the system being able to go up and go down as it processes through that experience. And so I just want to name that whether it's positive things like meeting a new friend or things that are less positive, that or at least that we see that through the lens of less positive, most of us this side of enlightenment, if that's a thing, there's a way in which we are wanting to have the system have greater capacity for even having some ease in the midst of high intensity experiences like that.
Oh, the content you just shared raises some interesting issues and questions in my mind. One is OI just saying try to be positive and happy and ignore your problems and ignore what's negative? Is OI just saying that? That's one thing on my mind. A second thing in my mind is appreciating that we got arousal and de-arousal in the discussion. And that's an important feature of the biology, because how OI is going to answer the objection, are you guys just about smiling and being happy and positive talk and ignore the problems? How we answer that is going to involve the fact that we focus on the biology and cycles of intensity and de-intensity. Yeah. Just some thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thoughts that will lead us into whatever's next in our conversations about organic intelligence. And it's our goal here is just to chit chat amongst ourselves and see what arises. So we are not starting with a format of any kind or even a script of any kind. We're just having a conversation, and I know for both Bach and myself, organic intelligence has had a powerful impact on our lives, and we would like to see it expand in the world a little bit. But also just to say that these are not necessarily our ideas, that we are doing our best to explicate what's been shared with us through Steve Hoskinson, who is the founder of the organization Organic Intelligence, and has brought together a lot of different ideas from different spheres of learning. And so we are basically just seeing if we can share this in a way that people can take these ideas and be able to support, that provide at least some support for themselves. Or some people may find that they want to be able to have some sessions with practitioners who see the one's life, your life, through this lens, and that would be of interest to you. And Bach is an organic intelligence certified coach. I am as well. And there's a whole directory of such coaches. And so one could get support for helping their biology do those arousal de-arousal cycles with greater ease, as Bach's been talking about.
I'm trying to be in the moment, and I am in the moment. As I was focusing on that white circular thing behind you, since we're doing free association, it's kind of mesmerizing, actually. I'm feeling good right now. It's just there's so much to talk about with organic intelligence, so many directions to pursue in the future. We could get very nuanced. I look forward to seeing where this goes. Yeah, I'm at a loss right now.
Oh yeah, well I'm with you. I too look forward to where this goes, and just hearing about how this kind of lands for people, like how they experience what we're saying, and what kinds of if there's any feedback or thoughts that people have about, or even questions about what we're saying. We're open to hearing those. Those can be directed towards us through the comment sections. And your questions may be what allows us to, is a spark for a future conversation.
I definitely am interested in people's reactions and questions to shape future videos. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's you in agreement that we'll wrap it up right now and see what comes next?
That sounds good to me. I'm due for some de-arousal, some rest time. Yes.
All right. Sounds good. You and me both.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, Bach.
Take care.